Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Frontal Access Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Russo.
I'm Anthony Gonzalez.
Let's fucking get it. All right, Ant. So,
what the fuck is wrong with Mickey Facts?
There's a lot of things wrong with Mickey Facts. Why don't you tell the listeners why we're mad at Mickey Facts today? First of all, you should probably tell them who he is, and then explain why we're mad at him. Let's start it off with that.
So, he's a commentator and was a participant in battle rap, and he goes and has the nerve to say that Eminem was not a battle rapper, because battle rapping nowadays, and that's all related to MMA too, just so I can justify this spiel. Battle rapping nowadays is you have months to prepare, and you go in there with writtens, and you know who you are going up against. And he said that anyone who was doing it back then was just freestyling, because I guess that's looked down upon by the dude, or just looking for a hype to launch their fucking rap career. And I'm just thinking, the fuck are you on? They were competing in the Rap Olympics, battling against each other. Just because it's changed from that to a new definition that you're going to define here does not mean that they weren't doing it then. And that's bullshit. And I relate this to MMA like with the leg kicks we talked about. There's different fighting now than there was before. It was still MMA. So fuck you, Mickey Facts.
Yeah, fuck you, Mickey Facts. Get your facts straight. How about that? Y'all didn't... The fact that this dude had the fucking nerve to say that Eminem wasn't a fucking battle rapper, I want to be like, are you okay? Are you right in the head? I don't think he's right in the head.
I don't either.
But anyway, Mickey Facts is our number one op. We're a bunch of stans over here at the Front Row Access Podcast. So,
Yeah.
we're some Eminem tribalists. I know where our biases are. But, at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't be fucking proud of it. It's my fucking podcast. If y'all have a problem with it, you can kindly go and fuck yourself. So, that's how it rolls. Yo, I swear to God, I told my fucking professor that I had a podcast.
Oh!
And, I told him what it was.
Oh, no.
And,
amazing.
I'm thinking about everything that I've done on this podcast, the shit I say, and everything. It's not very professional.
Listen, it's a domino effect, okay? This is going to bring more eyes to it. We're going to have a wider audience. It's going to be shown in class on how to do a startup podcast. And it's just going to reach a wider audience. This is fantastic.
Because I'm thinking about everything. I probably swear like every fucking sentence when I'm doing this podcast. And I'm out here drinking beer on the podcast as well as fucking... last week, Ann and I were drinking fucking whiskey out here. That was 2 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we were drinking whiskey out here.
Finishing that prop out of my toilet.
Oh, boy, did I have a night after that. But, yeah, that's not good. I probably shouldn't have told my professor that I have a podcast.
Listen, I got a question for you. Are you an adult?
I am an adult.
So why the fuck would it matter?
That's true. This is true. This is my platform. And like I said, if you got an issue with it, go fuck yourself. So, I mean, if you don't like it, just don't watch it, man. It's simple.
And if Mountain Dew, just sponsor us.
And Mountain Dew just sponsor us. Front Row Access 15, gmail.com.
That's simple.
Not only can you send the brand deal there, you can also send suggestions there as well. If you want to see an episode, we do requests. We just don't have a lot of people that request. So, just leaving that out there for you guys. But anyway, before we get into what this whole podcast is about, let's talk about what's happening this weekend. We got UFC 320, reigning defending light heavyweight champion Magomed Ankalaev versus former champion Alex Poatan Pereira.
Yep.
How we feeling?
Ah.
We did a podcast on this last week, but, this is us. We are a week behind on this podcast, in case I haven't really made that, official. We're about a week behind on here. So by the time you're seeing this, 320 would have already happened.
Yep.
So, yeah. Go fuck yourself. No, I'm just kidding. But how we feeling, though, Ant?
So before we actually see it, I will say it as many times as necessary. I really want Pereira to win.
Samesies.
Because I really want him to win. You can kind of guess what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be looking back at this once the event is over and done with, and then we're gonna be like, yeah, yeah. So we also have reigning, defending bantamweight champion of the world, Merab Dvalishvili, defending his belt against Corey Sandman Sandhagen. So that should be an entertaining fight, but once again, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Sandhagen. And this guy shows me something new every single time he fights, but man, Marab's just on some fucking demon time at this current moment. So I'm like very, how I say this, apprehensive for his fight this weekend. But we also have a fun fight at light heavyweight that could determine a number one contender. With Yuri Prohaska and Khalil Roundtree Jr. And this past weekend, we had a UFC light heavyweight main event over UFC Perth. Um, as we also predicted on this podcast, the Dominic Reyes magic ran out with Carlos Ulberg. That was very sad to watch, but it was expected. It was expected. Now, as I mentioned in the last podcast, the light heavyweight division is about a third of the way solved right now because there's three main problems at hand. One of them was the Carlos Ulberg and Dominic Reyes fight. If Dominic Reyes had beaten Carlos Ulberg, I can almost guarantee you he's facing the winner of this weekend.
Yep.
Just that kind of resurgence doesn't not get awarded with a title shot. But since that didn't happen, Ulberg won. So that means there's a new person that is keeping his spot at the top and is going to very much try to throw his hat in the ring for the light heavyweight title. But I think Ulberg is only going to get a title fight if Pereira wins this weekend. I think that if Pereira doesn't win this weekend, which we are predicting he's not, then I think Ulberg has to fight the loser of fucking Roundtree and Prohaska, I would say, and then go from there. Now, with Prohaska and Ulberg, if Magomed Ankalaev retains the title as we predicted, they are the number one contender. I think that's fair. Both of them are not that far removed from a title fight at this point. So I think that if either man wins this Saturday, they could be the number one contender, assuming Magomed Ankalaev retains his title. So, but if I'm Carlos Ulberg, I'm going to be not giving a fuck about what's happening between Prohaska and Roundtree Jr., and I'm instead going to be worried about what that title fight's looking like and praying and hoping to God that Pereira wins.
Yep.
Because if Pereira wins, Ulberg's a new challenger. I'm sorry, but if Pereira wins his belt back, neither Khalil Roundtree nor Yuri Prohaska have any stakes to go after Alex Pereira again. They're probably going to have to go through somebody else, And I think that would really hold up the division, to be honest. So, but we love Alex Pereira. We don't want Alex Pereira to lose. We want him to win. But if I'm Carlos Ulberg, but if I'm Magomed Ankalaev, rather, I'm going to try to get rid of Alex Pereira as quick as possible. Make sure it's a definitive win. Not that it already wasn't definitive. The last fight, I don't know if you guys watched it or not. It was, that was crispy. Oh. Anyway, Mountain Dew horniness and aside, I should definitely say that if I'm Magomed Ankalaev, I'm looking for a big win here. I'm looking for a big win. I'm looking for a finish.
Yep.
I'm looking to put Alex Pereira in the bottom of the fucking barrel so I can go and face one of these new guys that people are kind of questioning whether or not I can beat them. Which I, honest to God, think Magomed Ankalaev is going to hold down this division for quite some time. I think both Roundtree Jr. and Yuri Prohaska are going to be at a huge disadvantage, assuming that it gets to that it goes back to Magomed Ankalaev and then they're the next challenger. So now, where does Alex Pereira go from here? I think Alex Pereira, if he loses, he goes up. I think he should. I think he should go up to heavyweight. What do you think? Because I think all title aspirations will be gone if he loses.
So,
at this point in his career,
especially with Pereira here, he's already fought at the division below. Obviously, we know what happened there.
Beat Izzy.
Izzy.
Fifth round rally. Then got beat by Izzy.
Then used all his energy on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he won this division. Held it down for quite a bit. Was the man. Holding the company on his back. Was always there for a fight.
2024, man. Quite a year.
If he loses, You know who else is kind of, out in the fringes of the water when it comes to this?
Hmm.
Izzy.
That's true.
Izzy doesn't really have anything going for him right now.
No, he really doesn't. Taking that L to Imavov has put him in a weird limbo.
I would love to see a rematch there. I see nothing really that Pereira has to prove in this division. He's already ran circuits in it before.
Mhm.
So moving up would be the next thing to make sense for me. But
There's also Izzy.
you know how I feel about people going up.
Mhm.
I'm always cautious about it for a good reason. It's only been like one or two situations where I'm like, okay, yeah, this will work. This will work.
Ilya Taporia. Aljamain Sterling. You know, a lot of guys.
Max.
Max Holloway. Yeah, Max Holloway for sure.
There
Man,
are some guys who are doing great things in their new division.
ran circles around Dustin Poirier in his retirement fight. Holy fuck.
But I don't. I know Pereira's got the knockout power. I do.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to the heavyweights, I don't know how effective his striking,
His touch
will
of
be
death
to
will
them.
be. Yeah. That's the more the reason. That's another reason why I want to see him at heavyweight. I want to see how that power holds up at heavyweight. You know, it's a lot of things that Pereira can do, but I think Izzy and either Izzy or heavyweight. But to be honest, right now, based on what's going on, Izzy's really got nothing going on. Sean Strickland really doesn't have anything going on. I want to see Izzy Strickland too, to be honest. Because I mean, Strickland's obviously suspended right now. He's not going to compete for the rest of the year. And I mean, Izzy, let's be honest, the days of Izzy taking 3, 4 fights in a year are long behind us. So, I think both of them aren't really doing anything, and they're coming off of losses to the same champion. Well, not the same champion anymore. Tomzat Chimaev now, but I think they really don't got much stake going on besides each other. I actually think Izzy and Sean Strickland too might be a little bit more likely.
How do you think Hamzat would fare with Pereira?
Hamzat and Pereira, if Hamzat moved up to 205,
If Pereira moved down?
if I don't think Pereira's moving down to 185 again.
Well, like we said, if he wants to fight with Izzy, if he goes back into that division, he was there. He was a champion before.
Yeah.
How do you think he would fare against this new champion?
I think he'd get destroyed. To be honest, I think he'd get destroyed.
Yeah.
I think Hamzat would eat him alive.
Not calling Pereira a one-trick pony because he'd kill me, but
Exactly. But it's just, I think he'd die. And to be honest, I think he'd die cutting the weight to get down to 185 again. He's been living at 205 for how long now? About a year and a half, 2 years. So I think if he were to make the cut to middleweight again, he had a hard cut to get back down to Izzy one more time. And it might have been part of the reason why that we saw Izzy beat him the way he did. But I think that if Izzy wants to fight, he'd have to move up to light heavyweight again, and he face Pereira there. And to be honest, if we're going in a light heavyweight fight between Pereira and Adesanya, I don't think Adesanya's got that, to be real.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see Adesanya for another fight against Pereira.
Yeah.
Unless Pereira is, like,
lost and doesn't know where to go. But I mean, I'm not opposed to seeing that fight again. It's
I kind
like,
of would Izzy Pereira that fight.
oh, Izzy and Pereira?
Yeah. So many times.
It's happened so much at this point. I mean, Izzy got his win finally, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird. But that's UFC 320 this weekend. All of our questions will be answered after the bell rings and that
By
main
the time
event.
you see this.
By the time you see this, yeah, all of our questions are going to be answered. So, obviously, we'll be updating the TikTok. It's pay-per-view night. You know what we do on pay-per-view nights. We make videos.
Brother Mike make an appearance too.
Brother Mike may make an appearance in those videos if he wants to. I doubt he's going to, but he might. Anyway, let's talk about what our topic today is actually going to be. Guys.
Crown Jewels?
Crown Jewel. I mean, that's happening. That's happening. That is happening.
That is a thing.
But to be honest, I have not paid attention to WWE much the past couple of weeks. And, I don't know what's going on there. To be honest, I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
I think I saw Cody's gonna be fighting Styles. I don't know.
Yeah, Cody. No, not Cody. Cody's not fighting Styles.
Seth.
Cena's fighting Styles.
Seth then.
Seth's fighting Cody. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, Seth's fighting Cody.
So I'm be honest here, guys. I don't really see Crown Jewel as much. I sorry if that upsets you guys. It's kind of like a trophy wife type of thing that the WWE gives to Saudi.
And it's in fucking Perth. They're not. They don't even have it in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi or something like that. They don't have it. They don't have it there. It's in fucking Perth.
Are they doing a TK takeover thing?
I'm pretty sure it's in Australia. I could be wrong. Fuck, I don't know. I've been so behind on WWE since SummerSlam, man. SummerSlam was great. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love SummerSlam. But man, I've really only watched Clash in Paris and WrestlePalooza. WrestlePalooza was eh. And Clash in Paris was also kind of eh. You know? So, I mean, there's really not much going on. I mean, I want to watch it because, I mean, we're in, like, the final stretch of Cena's, like, run right now.
Yeah.
But, like, I just haven't been able to watch it. College has been made me very busy. You know, I do a lot of stuff. When I get home on Monday nights, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'm not fucking watching shit. You know, on these Friday nights, it's like, Anthony, you got work tomorrow, so I'm not even trying to, like, keep you that long. You know? So it's like, what the fuck? I'm kind of left with nothing here. I mean, I record everything. I have everything taped, but it's just not like... it's just not... I just can't watch it.
There's not enough time.
It's just not enough time. And I'm like, what the fuck? But, regardless, I went off on a tangent. But, today's episode. UFC Rivals, guys. We got another instance here. About time. We're going to our Rivalry Revisits series one more time. Our last one was McGregor and Khabib. We went over that one in depth. We actually did a very good job at that one, I would say. Except it only got like 6 fucking views. So, it is what it is. We do this for fun. But, this one, guys, you think of UFC rivals. Think of a lot of different things. But I'm pretty sure the two that come to mind are Khabib and McGregor, and then the one that's on today, DC and Jones. So, we're going to be going up to the light heavyweight division. We're moving up from the 155ers, and we're moving into the light heavyweight division. We're going to recap this lovely little rivalry that John Jones and DC had with all of the fights, the controversies, and legal troubles that happened within it. So,
sorry, we're talking about one of your guys' goats.
Yeah, we're talking about one of your goats. One of the goats of MMA, apparently. Yes, in air quotes. Goats.
That's why we said yours.
So, let's get this started. This all fucking started back at UFC 196. We're talking 2016. You know, John Jones, Daniel Cormier. John Jones, already well-established talent at this point. Reigning, defending champion. Has been for a while. You know. We have DC, Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier, Olympic-level wrestler. Undefeated. Been making waves to the same division that John Jones was in. It was almost like they were bound to fight each other at some point. You have the undefeated prospect versus the guy that's never truly lost a fight in the UFC. I mean, he lost that one by disqualification, but that was a fight that he was going to go on to win had he not thrown the illegal elbow. So, let's talk about that. Yeah, what did you feel about those 2 fights that ensued between the two of them? We'll talk about purely the mixed martial arts. Then we'll get into all the drama.
Mixed martial arts, all right. Jones was running tables on DC for that first one.
Yeah.
There were a couple of moves I saw DC. I'm like, maybe this can pan out. This can pan out for him if he pulls this off correctly, but he just couldn't. He couldn't stick the landing when it came to trying to take down Jones, trying to one-up him and whatnot. And for the first bit, I'm like, oh yeah, look at him, he's advancing, he's going. And I saw it, there really wasn't much damage done to Jones for that.
Really, there wasn't.
For all it was worth,
For all it was worth. DC put in a hell of an effort, but, John Jones was the one that ended up taking DC down.
Yeah.
So, it's safe to say that first fight was a 49-46, and it ended in a John Jones victory.
Yep.
And retention. This would be the start of quite the dramatic spiral. But before we get into the drama, let's talk about the build-up to that fight. Now that we're past, what actually happened in the fight. John Jones was clearly in control the whole time. DC had maybe a couple of moments, but he was unable to stick the landing, as you said. Let's talk about that build-up. It was heated. That was a heated build-up. I mean, both times this was a very heated build-up. But this time, John Jones was a little bit more of the aggressor, I would
I
say.
was gonna say he gave off volatile.
Yeah, it seemed like he was the more aggressive one in this. He was the one that was getting up in DC's face. He was the one that like eventually socked DC right at a press conference. You guys have seen the clip. John Jones just getting a good one on DC. They're running into each other in the hallway, and he's saying that he sucks, and then DC's like, show me that I suck. Let's see it Saturday. Stuff like that. It was a very heated rivalry, and of course we had the off the air interaction that they had between the two of them when Jones was like, "Hey, pussy, you still there?" Stuff like that. And then he goes, "I could kill you." And DC's like, "You think I'm just gonna stand there and let you kill me, John? Really think about that, you know?" And he's like, "I'm gonna end you," stuff like that. You're gonna go back home. And then after John Jones won, there was still no love lost between these guys. He was like, "I hope he's somewhere crying right now," you know. And that was a very heated build up. Matt, let's talk about what happened about a week before that fight happened. John Jones went out on a bender that night, got really drunk, snorted a line of coke, and hit and run a pregnant person.
Yep, the goat.
Yeah, he did. So he actually no, he tested positive for cocaine, so they actually ended up having to rule the fight a no contest. They stripped Jones of the belt, and then he went to go on to fucking hit a pregnant woman right after the fucking shit was done. So fuck, this is the start of John Jones' big time legal trouble. So he had a couple of run-ins with the law. He had an interaction with a police officer as well that wasn't very good, calling the police officer a liar, really antagonizing this poor police officer. And
Playing the victim card.
yeah, very much. And DC, meanwhile, actually got a chance to fight for the light heavyweight title, and he did win it. So now, when he wins that, DC would go on to defend this belt a couple of times, and John Jones would continue to spiral into some legal trouble. And eventually, Jones and Cormier 2 was booked for UFC 200. That was supposed to be the main event, but right before the main event was supposed to happen, John Jones tested positive for performance enhancers,
Yep, the
and they had to
goat.
call off the fight. So I think Amanda Nunes and somebody else headlined the UFC 200 card. I forget exactly who Nunes fought, but it was originally supposed to be John Jones and Daniel Cormier too for this one, which makes sense. These two were pretty much on a collision course to fight again after they were done fighting each other. They continued to be at each other's throats, but John Jones continued to keep getting in trouble. And, you know, here he is. He's like he's like assaulting women and all that in between the fights and all that. And eventually, this guy gets his match against Daniel Cormier. And he does end up beating Daniel Cormier. But let's talk about that second fight for a second. Let's talk about the mixed martial arts before we get into everything else. DC looked a lot stronger in this fight. DC looked like the champ. DC looked like he had something to prove, because he kind of did, to be honest. He's like, I gotta put this dude in the fucking dirt. He's been nothing but trouble since we last fought. Now I gotta go teach this fucking guy a lesson. Stuff like that. And DC looked great. Matter of fact, I had him 2-up going into that third round. And what did you think of that second fight?
I had him 2-up, and I think he was winning that third until that kick.
Yep, and then obviously we all know the head kick that landed. The head kick sent Daniel Cormier backwards doing the chicken dance.
Yep.
And then eventually John Jones would come in for the finish. He'd win, and then he would start his next reign as light heavyweight champion. But this next reign as light heavyweight champion was also with a lot more controversy. After he had beaten DC. DC goes up to heavyweight, I'm pretty sure. And he ends up winning the title at heavyweight. And then as after that happened, actually, yeah, he won the title at heavyweight, and then he had both the light heavyweight and the heavyweight belt. He went back down to light heavyweight to fight John Jones and lost to John Jones. Yeah, that's how that one went. But this next title reign, John Jones seemed like he just didn't give a fuck, to be honest. He was showing up to press conferences, he just didn't seem all in it. He was partying all the time, as well as training. He even bragged about that he was able to balance it out and all that. It just seems like he was starting to just not care about the sport so much. He got a couple more DUIs, got an assault charge.
He did make special reference to losing all his sponsorship.
Yeah, he did. he did lose all his sponsorships afterwards, and after the whole pregnant woman cocaine incident.
So it's not so much the sport, but the endorsements.
Yeah, he lost that shit too. That's where all the money is. So I mean, eventually, it was just a tale of two different people, man. Daniel Cormier was like the hero in this story, kind of like maybe not like truly hero, but like he was like he was on the better side of it. John Jones just it seemed like he was trying to fight off the villain of John Jones. Maybe he wasn't a hero, but he was more of an anti-hero figure, I would say, in this fight. Because I mean, he wasn't all classy about it. Nah, he like insulted John Jones how many times at those press conferences? He goes, "Oh, I might look like a crackhead in this suit, but I've never been a crackhead like you," stuff like that. And he would like antagonize him and all that. DC was more the aggressor in this one, I would say, and rightfully so.
You can be an aggressive good guy.
I would say rightfully so because John Jones got in so much trouble in between their first and second fight.
You got to keep in mind while this is happening, Jones basically utterly defeated DC. You know, and then he goes and fucks around and screws off, and then loses what DC had been wanting, and what DC was afraid would happen the whole time. So yeah, I get why he was aggressive.
Yeah, so I mean, like, why the fuck are you still here? Type thing. Like, I don't even understand why they let him fight again after that. To be honest, he should have been fired. But obviously, we know how Dana White feels about fucking John Jones.
Why he can't fight there? All right, we're changing the venue, different state. Let's go.
That's exactly what happens. And even though he said to the media, there might, excuse me, there might be the end of his career. No, the fuck it wasn't.
He used that line multiple times.
Yep, he's like his career could be over. Stuff like that. Never pulled the trigger. Never ever pulled the trigger. Instead, let this cancer just grow within his organization. Just not only does it make him look bad, like for John Jones, it makes the UFC look bad. Like this is your guy. Like this is the guy that you're hyping up. Like you're hyping up this. Let's be honest, should be convicted felon.
Oh yeah.
And he never was. Like
I know. When I heard the whole, I think I should spend time inspiring the children. I'm like, you're playing the children card?
And they let him go off that. The goddamn judge agreed to his plea. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? But I think it's pretty much to say it was two sides of a coin with these two guys. Two, like, polar opposite guys. You have DC, who's like the workhorse. He's the guy that's going to fight anybody. He's the guy that's going to do what he can. He's going to fuck you up in the process. And he's going to, just be a dominant champion. And that he was. He was like the fucking bronze statue of discipline was DC. Meanwhile, John Jones was more the wild card. He was more the Joker, if you will. Like if DC was the Batman that worked really hard to make sure everything that he proved himself, then fucking John Jones was the Joker, So he was the one that was doing all the bad things. He was the one that was constantly, even though he beat DC, he didn't really beat him, like, character-wise. Come on, who out here actually wants to be like John Jones? I sure as hell don't. So, this is going to turn into a John Jones shitfest, this entire Rivals series. But, ultimately, though, it was a battle of two polar opposite guys. And, boy, did they hate each other. They did not like each other, and rightfully so. Like, these guys were opposites. John Jones was a demon. John Jones was a demon, and fucking DC was trying to be like a pop culture reference, but the Demon Slayer, like the one that would end it. He was the one to like discipline prevails over this partying, over this drinking, over this drug use, this cheating, all
Another
that.
thing that I feel was highlighted with this too is that DC loved the. Do I want to use the word discipline? The sport. He loved what MMA was. And I think he recognized that John Jones, just like Greggy nowadays, he's not there for the sport. He's there for the paycheck. He's not there to further it. He's there to use it to become successful for his own advantage. And I think that is what really gave DC the gripe that he had with him. It's just like, this dude doesn't care. He's out there partying. He's taking performance enhancement drugs. He's fucking drinking. He's irresponsible. He doesn't love the fucking
Party
sport.
life. You know, he doesn't love the.
He doesn't love the sport.
He just loves the party life.
And this guy is the face of the company.
Like, the fuck you mean face of the company? Dana White does a really bad job of choosing faces of the company now I'm thinking about it. Because there's a lot of parallels between DC and Jones and Connor and Khabib.
Did you ever think that they're just tastier?
Yeah, it might be. But no, it's like I think we mentioned this in our UFC rival series as well. Like Khabib was like the guy that was like out here competing. He was the one that was doing everything, being that dominating force. While McGregor fucked off, boxed for a bit, went and partied his ass off, now wants to come back for a title shot. And on top of that, he's talking shit. Like, it's like the same thing happened here. Like, between, like, yeah, Khabib was like the guy that was like, he was the discipline guy. He was the fucking dude doing push ups. He was the guy getting up early. He was the guy in the gym twice a day for hours on end.
After wrestling
Bear, you know. And then here's Conor McGregor, who's all rich. He's a business mogul at this point.
I got a Lambo yacht.
Like, yeah, he didn't have the Lambo yacht yet, but at this point, he made the Mayweather money. And then he was just this big time business mogul because he had just started up the proper number 12, struck that deal with the UFC, sponsored a bunch of shit, and now he's like a business mogul. He's not an MMA fighter anymore. And I'm pretty sure that's what set Khabib off about Conor. Like, this guy doesn't actually give a fuck about this sport. I do, you know?
See, the main difference between these two rivals is that Conor was a prick to Khabib. Jones, I think, was just trying to do his own thing. He didn't really care about DC. That's just who Jones is.
Yeah.
Like, no. I'm the champion. You suck. I kicked your ass. I'm going to go party now. I'll be back later.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And usually, I mean, and DC fought back too. I mean, Khabib, he fought back as well. Don't get me wrong, Khabib fought back, but he didn't fight back and like be as visceral as I think DC was with Jones. You know, I think DC kind of did stoop to Jones's level a little bit. But like, can you blame him? Like, can you blame him after all this shit that like this is the guy that fucking beat me? You know, why the fuck did he beat me? You know,
cocaine. Oh wait, what?
Like, why the fuck did he beat me? Why the fuck was he able to beat me when I'm the one that's training all the time? What the fuck? You know, so safe to say DC had a chip on his shoulder for John Jones for sure. But I don't think it was. I think it was a bigger chip on his shoulder than Khabib had for McGregor.
Yeah, I was gonna say along with that, Greggy never fucking beat Khabib.
No, he never did.
So, like, for him, it was like, this dude's down here trying to step to me. With the DC and Jones, it's like, this dude is trying to step to me.
And then he fucking beat me, you know? And now I'm mad that he fucking beat me.
No, I'm reversing that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Jones is the one saying, this dude's trying to step to me. I've already whooped his ass twice. I just want to go party.
Yeah. So kind of just reversing the two roles here. Because, I mean, even though it would have been awesome to see DC just beat the brakes off of John Jones, but he was the most likely candidate at the time.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
For sure, he had a great shot. Especially during that second fight, he nearly did. If it wasn't for that kick.
If it wasn't for that kick, he was on his way to winning round 3.
If it wasn't for that ankle pick.
You know, if it wasn't for that ankle pick, Dustin Poirier would have retired the UFC lightweight champion, you know? But yeah, we reference it in every podcast.
But it happened. You got taken out by a kick. Learn from it, block it, and don't dive into it, and you'll do better next time.
And then, I mean, DC would go on to, you know, compete at heavyweight again. He beat Derek Lewis for the heavyweight title before losing it to Stipe Miocic again. So, you know, DC would go on to have a bit of a career after John Jones, but after the 2018 fight, you know, I think DC just was like, alright, fine, I couldn't beat John Jones. I think he really did want to beat John Jones.
Oh, yeah.
For sure, you really. I mean, who the fuck doesn't?
Even after he tested positive, he was like, "Is there some type of release form so I can just get in there and whoop his
so
ass?"
I can go and fight him, you know?" And then they weren't able to, because athletic commissions. Like, DC wanted to beat John Jones. Like, he dedicated time, effort, and like blood, sweat, and tears.
Dude, think about it from DC's perspective. He must have been thinking about the fight for months, ever since losing.
Yeah, it's probably just constantly in his mind. It was probably like a ghost, you know, just constantly haunting him.
Wouldn't you go to any extent to try fighting that dude again?
Of course. And I mean, DC said it in that little docu-film that we watched, and he was like, I think we're forever bound until we fight again, you know? And then they were able to fight again, and DC looked great, man. He was on his way to beating John Jones, I would say, if like, even in that third round before the kick, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, he was on his way to having a 3-up lead on John Jones. John Jones would have had to rally, you know, in order to win. He would have had to, if had they gotten out of that third round, Jones would have had to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Or win one round extremely decisively, like 10-8 the guy to tie it, you know? So, like, DC was on his way to beating him. He was, and you know, there's a saying that you get like 35% better after you win a title. You saw that with Daniel Cormier in this fight. Because he's the champ at this point. He has a couple defenses under his belt. He beat Alexander Gustafsson. I think he beat Glover Teixeira as well. So, like, he had, like, he had title defenses. He was the guy at this point in time, you know?
What would be a great review would be take the first 2 rounds, right, of both fights, compare them side by side. That's all you need to do.
That's really all you
see
need
the
to do.
difference.
You see rounds 1 and 2, and Jones and Cormier won. You see that Jones clearly had an advantage.
Yep.
You see rounds 1 and 2 for DC Cormier too, and Cormier was the aggressor. He was the one beating him. But you know, John Jones set up a high kick and connected, and well, down he went. And unfortunately, I think DC probably lost a lot of steam after that. I mean, he was a heavyweight champ still at the time. He had moved back down to fight Jones, and he had just beaten Stipe. So, like, obviously, he's like, fuck yeah! I just became a champ in another weight division, beating this guy. Pfft, I can do it. You're gonna see that I wasn't supposed to lose that fight, you know, and fortunately, didn't happen for him. So he went back to heavyweight. I think he did one more title defense, and then he lost the belt to Stipe Miocic again in 2020. And after that loss to Stipe Miocic in 2020, he said, "All right, I'm done." He retired. He was all set. But you know, it's sad because I think DC lost a lot of steam when he lost to Jones the second time. It's like I've had such an illustrious career, but it's gonna be ruined by the fact that John Jones beat me twice. And if you see John Jones' behavior outside of the UFC, I shouldn't have lost to him. You know, I bet you DC probably, maybe not so much, not as much anymore. I'm sure he probably still thinks about that. You know, I don't understand why you wouldn't. You know,
Well, that's always the one that got away.
that was like the one that got
situation.
away. Like I've had such an illustrious career. People would have been putting me above John Jones had I just beat John Jones. Maybe if the first fight went the way it was supposed to, John Jones won. If he had beaten John Jones in the second fight, I'm pretty sure more people would have credited DC over John Jones.
See, a great thing about performance TV versus actuality is that I'm sure, like, I don't play it, you do, I know. If you play UFC 5 or 6 and whatnot, that John Jones looks like a great guy. Fantastic. He's a great powerhouse, I'm sure. Stats are probably out of this world. And that's because if you take the real world aspect out of it, like, say we do Art and Artist for Hulk Hogan, same thing.
Yeah.
He's a great UFC MMA fighter.
And by the numbers, is the greatest.
He's a shitty human being.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take both into account, you see that he's doping. He's fucking using performance enhancement drugs. He's using substances that are illegal. So when you put that into it, he's just not a GOAT.
No.
In my opinion.
I would.
UFC fighter, sure, that guy, good. But they had to dope to get there. That you're using profiling children, I don't know, apology tours to get out of dealing with responsibilities that are consequences for your actions. That just isn't a guy I aspire to be.
No, definitely not. And, you know, this is why, like, the UFC GOAT conversation is so fucking complicated. It's because we have John Jones in here. And the fact that Dana has given him this much of a fucking platform.
He's probably tasty.
And I'm like, dude, was he even able to, like, fight again after all that? I'm sure if that was any other, like, any other UFC fighter, they would have been kicked out of the organization, and Dana White would have frantically ran to erase them from history. But since that wasn't the case, and it was John Jones we're talking about here, the guy that was kind of like the first superstar of MMA, of UFC, and was the guy that did carry the for a time before all the legal troubles. John Jones was good. He would take on the best competition. He would always he won fairly, and he won it decisively. Like early John Jones, like that first initial UFC light heavyweight champion, John Jones, was great. It's just after that it went down, and this is like it comes into it, you start thinking about legacy. Start thinking about legacy. John Jones' legacy is forever tainted.
Yeah.
By what he's done.
Oh yeah.
Like nobody is going to 100% agree that John Jones is the GOAT purely because of what he did outside of the octagon. There are people that are going to argue all the time. There are John Jones glazers that are going to be
there
like...
are John Jones glazers. Yes, you can flame me or whatever the hell you kids do nowadays. Say in a decade from now, you bring up John Jones or someone like that, I think to someone who's a pure MMA fan, they'll be like, oh, that guy who was doping?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy who took the PEDs?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
That guy who hit the pregnant lady? And when you have that on your record, despite how you
might have fought,
don't do time for it and shit, when you have that, it's like, that's not the only thing.
Yeah. It's just like, it becomes a question, like I said, of legacy. And that's just what it comes down to. I mean, now, like we already mentioned, if you separate John Jones, the UFC fighter, away from John Jones, the human, John Jones, the UFC fighter, is great. He possibly is the great. No, not even possibly. He is the greatest of all time, based off of accolades. But that's where the argument is. The argument is whether is morality. And I think any moral human being will see the fact that John Jones doesn't really deserve the pedestal that he's held to. He really doesn't. Yeah, he's
except for one.
Yeah, Dana White's sucking his cock. But,
Tasty.
But, the fact of the matter is, it's like, it's just, it becomes frustrating when you talk about this stuff like that, because, like, you just get so mad. Like, you had so much in front of you. If you had just gotten out of your own fucking way, we'd be remembering you a whole lot differently. If you had stayed the young John Jones that came in here, became the youngest champion in UFC history, and kept fighting all the right guys, but now here we are. Not only did you get into a bunch of fucking legal trouble, you fucking cheated. You've tested positive for performance enhancers. Like I said, you've cheated. And on top of that, you've held the new division that you went up for 2 years.
Hold up, right there.
Yeah.
Right there, especially right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say stop. This is a versus. Are we going to extend this to talk about John Jones a person? Because if so, then there's a whole nother title reign that comes in, and a whole nother situation that counters that whole you fought the guys you were supposed to fight thing.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it becomes a versus.
Yeah, so that could probably be the end of the versus.
Yeah.
When it comes to John Jones, though, there was more that happened. See, after DC, next fight, what was it, a win, and then he lost to Miocic?
Yeah, Miocic.
Guess who's back?
John.
Back again.
John fucking Jones.
John Jones is back.
After taking 3 years off, after he got beat by Dominic Reyes.
Yes, we do see more from John Jones after this versus. He goes up, and he gets another title. The same thing DC did years before, but, without the drugs and whatnot. And then he doesn't fight the guys he's supposed to fight.
Nope.
And did he get forced out? I feel like...
I think he kind of did.
Yeah, I feel like they said, look, if you're not going to take this fight, we're stripping you of it. It's his. And we're going to move on.
And then John Jones is like, fine, I'll just retire then.
About fucking time.
Yeah. For real. Like...
That's what he's talking about. Because when John Jones made his famous comeback...
His courageous return to the octagon.
He decided to go up a weight, which makes sense with these guys. It's hard to cut weight. Harder the older you get. And then he gets the title from, was it a Gon fight?
Yeah, it was Shogun.
They always give it. They always make
They
it a
always
Gon
give
fight.
Cyril Gane a fucking title fight.
Let's
Why?
go.
Now he's got fucking another one.
Yes.
That's just a whole nother section of pissed me off.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe we'll do it. I don't think he deserves a spotlight.
If we
Maybe
do
we'll
a fighter spotlight on Cyril Gane, it's just going to be me roasting him the whole
No,
time.
maybe we'll just do a shoulda, coulda, would.
Yeah.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda spotlight for people who shoulda, coulda, woulda done something.
And Cyril Gane would be the poster boy of that one, to be real.
But yeah, Jones comes back. Jones takes a couple fights, easy wins. Fucking Dana White's like, okay, man, you got this. It's so tasty. So tasty. And then he, because of his absenteeism from his own fucking weight class championship, we get an interim champion, and you guys probably know what we're getting at here, because we talked about it a lot.
And we're going to talk about it again.
Because Jones would not fucking fight who he was supposed to.
Nope.
Said crazy off the wall shit like he doesn't deserve it. I know he's got a fake ass belt. He doesn't deserve it. I don't want to get hurt.
Pretty much what it was. And on top of that, his whole entire run, and then we've very much strayed from the rivals.
That's why I wanted to say.
Yeah. We very much strayed from that, because, I mean, there's not really much to talk about besides the fact that those two fought. John Jones won both times, and DC's probably still thinking about it now. You know, like, it's a tragic story. Like, I'm just gonna round out like the rivals like once and for all, but it is still one of the defining eras of the 2010s. It was like two of these guys that were the best of the best in the UFC's former Golden Division, which was the 205 division because of John Jones. So I mean, it was a very impactful rivalry, and then we'll go back to Flame and John Jones. But it was a very good rivalry because it meant something. It showed like the holes within like just the spoils of reality, to be honest. Like John Jones eked it out each time, just because John Jones, as much as we don't like him for what he does, he is talented.
He's good at what he does.
He's good at what he does. There's no doubt about it. You go and watch that first Daniel Cormier and John Jones fight. John Jones was on top of that. You know, he was just destroying DC here, and he really shouldn't have been, but he was because he's just talented, and that's what it is. And when talent even meets a little bit of hard work, all of a sudden that talent becomes unstoppable. So, and then you go into the second fight. He's down in the dumps. He's down 2 rounds. He's losing this third round. Still finds a way to not only win the fight, but finish it in an emphatic fashion. John Jones, so fucking talented. But he's just a piece of shit. And that's what this rivalry is going to be defined by. The fact that John Jones was just always found a way. Despite everything that happened, despite everything that DC tried to do.
There's a great analogy, too. If you take away the rivals, right?
Yeah.
You take away the rivalry, right? You got John Jones, light heavyweight, then heavyweight champion. You got DC, light heavyweight, heavyweight champion.
Similar resumes.
And if you were to ask me, who's newer, I'm pretty sure you're in agreement here, who had the better title reign? Honestly, I think DC, because you can't take away from what he did. Whereas with Jones, you can.
And very easily, too. And rightfully.
Many a times. Like, he screwed up once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. I lost track of my fingers. I think I still have 2 toes to use.
Yeah, he fucked up how many times? It's just, DC is higher on the GOAT list than John Jones. I'm be real. I know we haven't really done a UFC GOAT podcast. That's going to be a very fucking long podcast. That might have multiple parts to it.
It's fine. We'll get through it.
The fact of the matter is, DC had the better career, despite what the talent that John Jones brought. He was more the bastion for mixed martial arts. John Jones was the bastion of, I fucked off. I just happened to be really good at fighting. I fucked off all that time, and I still won. That's not somebody you want to strive to be. That's not somebody you want to take, like, mentorship from. That's not somebody you want to try to copy. You would try to be Daniel Cormier. The guy that worked hard. The guy that was always in the gym. A guy that did his best. The guy that had a title reign in 2 fucking divisions. And he had defenses in both of them. Like, I don't understand why you would want to be John Jones. Because to me, in order to be the greatest of all time, you need to have something that inspires somebody to want to be you. You know, be like some unassuming 14-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid that watched UFC all of a sudden and wanted to find a fighter that they wanted to like kind of be like. Maybe not carbon copy, but like take the same things that they did and put it into their own life. You would be more inclined to look at DC.
You could be talking about anyone, by the way.
I could be talking about anyone, but there is a particular fighter that did make the cut, and he's no longer here though. But overall, to close out the UFC rivals before we go back into John Jones, this was an impactful rivalry for the UFC, but it also showed the spoils that is within it. It shows the tragedy that can happen in this sport. Despite everything that happened, it like the McGregor and Khabib rivalry showed some of the good things that can come out of MMA. Like, you had this guy that was talking mad shit, antagonized you the whole time. You got in there and you just destroyed him, you know? But then you have this one, which is the stark opposite of what that was. You had this guy that's talking shit, this guy that's not really into it, this guy that's not really, doesn't really care, versus the guy that does care. And the guy that doesn't really care won because he was just talented, you know? So it's a little bit of a tragic story. I would say this rivalry leaves more of a sour taste in your mouth than the McGregor and Khabib one. The
For
McGregor
sure.
and Khabib one's like a typical hero defeats the villain after the villain caused mass chaos. This is like the villain won despite everything. This was like the Avengers of Infinity War, you know?
So it's like the first Avengers
Yeah.
Infinity War, because the thing is, you can still take away from Jones, right? And there was still a way to come back from Thanos, you know. So yeah, I'd say like the first
Like Infinity
one.
War Part 1, you
Yeah.
know? It's just, man, it's a tragic story. It really is. But unfortunately, that's just where it's going to be. Now, let's go more into...
By the way, Disney, if I find out that you're the people who push that ESPN Unlimited plan, we'll have words.
There will be words.
Anyways, John Jones' later career.
John Jones' later career just becomes just reinforces the lessons that were learned in the Daniel Cormier one. Yeah, John Jones would go on. He won the rivalry, if you will. Like, he won. Like, he beat DC. DC went out of the division. He moved up to heavyweight, and then he just stayed there until the end of his career. Meanwhile, John Jones stayed at light heavyweight. He would go on to beat Anthony Smith. He would beat Thiago Santos, and he would beat Dominic Reyes. Now, the Dominic Reyes win, you guys already know I'm a believer that Dominic Reyes beat John Jones that night, but fortunately that wasn't the case. But here's the thing. Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, and those two guys really shouldn't have been competing for a title at that point in their career at all. There were far more better, like, 205ers, like Dominic Reyes, at the time. Jan Blachowicz was coming around that time. Those were the better, like, UFC light heavyweights, but it was Thiago Santos and Anthony Smith. And Thiago Santos not even with the UFC no more. He's in fucking PFL now. And Anthony Smith is long retired. Well, a couple months retired. But let's be honest, he was pretty much retired before that. I thought he was done after the last loss he had. After losing his coach. He still went out there for one more fight, and, well, he lost that one. But I would say he was already pretty much checked out. Plus, Lionheart Smith, Anthony Smith, I love you to death, but, like, man, he didn't really have a good record towards the end. So, it is what it is. And, but John Jones, the rest of his career, would just go on to reinforce that point. He didn't face the people that he was supposed to face. He would use his talent to beat guys that were not as talented as him. He would pick and choose his fights, and that's exactly what this would be. It becomes the politics of the UFC at this point. He was politic through the UFC. He was politic through that UFC title reign. He was politic through that heavyweight title reign. Because let's face it, as soon as he beat Dominic Reyes, who was the talk of the town at the time, who had just knocked out Stipe Miocic and became the heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. He would do it later on that year. Like, not even, no, 2 months after John Jones beat Dominic Reyes. Fucking Francis Ngannou went and beat Stipe Miocic and became the heavyweight champion. John Jones said he wanted to move up to heavyweight. I bet you he was planning on trying to face Stipe Miocic back then. But when Francis Ngannou did what Francis Ngannou did, because let's be honest, Francis Ngannou the first time around got beat by Stipe Miocic because he got out-wrestled. But the second time around, here comes Francis Ngannou. I'm pretty sure he was the underdog going into that fight as well. Let's be. This is the Stipe Miocic that just beat a little bit out of Prime DC, so still very credible win. So I'm pretty sure he was the underdog going into that fight. Plus, he lost decisively in their first fight. He knocks him out, and then we don't hear from John Jones for 3 years, even though he said he was moving up to heavyweight. And we didn't hear from John Jones that he would even come back until after, or when there was friction going on between Francis Ngannou and the UFC. There was contract negotiations that were going down. Francis Ngannou wasn't happy with the way he was being marketed, the way he was being paid, and fair on him for feeling that way, and he up and left the company. So
Jones is just back to like, that monster leaves the division.
So after Francis Ngannou had this friction, after he had beaten Cyril Gane that time after Cyril Gane won the interim belt against Derek Lewis. After that, then there was friction between the UFC throughout the rest of that year, 2022, between Francis Ngannou and the UFC. Eventually, towards year's end, it was bye-bye Francis Ngannou. Then all of a sudden, guess who comes back as soon as there's complications? As soon as the complications, not even were subsided yet, but it was pretty much moving in that direction. John Jones is all like, I'm ready to come back, guys. I'm ready to come back. He comes back. He faces an undeserving Cyril Gane. To be honest, at that point in time, what should have been the heavyweight title fight was, trying to think of the time period that we're in right now. We're early 2023 right now. Francis Ngannou just left the company. He had beaten Cyril Gane early 2022. Who was winning a lot in that? Tai Tuivasa and Sergey Pavlovich were winning a lot at that point in time. I think either of those guys would have been more deserving. I would say Sergey Pavlovich. He had a better year in 2022. Sergey, yeah. I think it should have been Sergey Pavlovich and John Jones, but instead they gave it to Cyril Gane. And it was marketed as a close fight. I thought it was going to be a close fight because we'd never seen John Jones at heavyweight. What's going to happen? Cyril Gane's very talented. Guess what? Cyril Gane got caught up in the lights and he fucking lost in like 30 seconds to John Jones. And then John Jones became the heavyweight champion. Then he would not fight until he was supposed to fight in November of 2023. Supposed to fight Stipe Miocic. And then his little pec went pop. And then we didn't see him again for another year, And meanwhile, in that time period, Tom Aspinall came back, started building his way back up in the division, and he had an interim title fight against Curtis Blades, the guy that he suffered his injury against. He destroys Curtis Blades and becomes the interim champion, because that was just supposed to be a featured heavyweight fight when John Jones defended against Stipe. That was supposed to be like, oh, this is the number one contender. But John Jones pulled out of the fight. That fight became an interim championship fight, and then the rest happened. And then now fucking Tom Aspinall becomes the interim champion, and it's great. Now it's like, okay, it's certain now. It has to be John Jones. It has to be Tom Aspinall. Both of these guys are each other's match.
They both got the heavyweight belt. Let's see which one's real.
Pretty much. And John Jones would proceed to drag his feet, go and fight old man Stipe in November of 2024, instead of going against our fucking interim champion. And that interim champion defended the interim belt earlier in the summer.
Reigning, defending,
interim
champion.
Oh. Fucking Tom Aspinall got a title defense before John Jones ever did. And then when he did, he went against old man Stipe, who had been quasi-retired for 3.5 years at this point. So, like, fuck. We already knew. I mean, I would have favored John Jones against Stipe, even when Stipe was champion. Especially now. Especially now. This guy's basically just retired. He's all but just come out and said publicly, yeah, I'm done. Instead he comes back, gets that payday against John Jones, he fucking loses, and
Big
then,
surprise.
a big surprise, he fucking lost, he hadn't fought in 3 years. And then John Jones is like, yeah, I got a title defense now. And I'm like, okay, fine. We did that fight because that was the fight that was supposed to happen. It shouldn't have been the fight that happened. But fuck it, I get it. That was the fight that was supposed to happen. Whatever. Now you're going to face Aspinall, right? John Jones
He's
would
not
proceed
deserving.
to drag his feet. Say that Tom Aspinall does not deserve it. And then retires. After the UFC. I think the UFC pushed him.
I do too.
Dude, you have to fight this guy, or else we're not gonna renew you. We're not gonna resign you. And then John Jones probably got all sorts of butthurt, and he's like, fine, then I retire. And
For
now
4 days.
and then he's, I don't know, coming back maybe. And then now Tom Aspinall is now your undisputed heavyweight champion with 1 title defense, and I'm like, what the actual fuck?
Not
John,
only did John Jones fuck over his life, he fucked over the heavyweight.
yeah. So, point being, the DC and John Jones rivalry made things very apparent with John Jones. John Jones really didn't care as much as people originally thought he did. And it would just show because not only the attitude that he brought with the DC fights, he brought with every other fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would have loved to have been able to say that another credible thing you can give to this is that it brought eyes to the UFC. But unfortunately, I don't think I can say that because while it was a rivalry, that was just who John Jones was. He was just the party goer who was living life to the fullest. He didn't care who, and he was that way with all his fights. He was that volatile, is the word I liked.
Yeah. So ultimately, if there's one thing that we can learn from the Jones and DC rivalry, it's how John Jones really is. And it became painfully apparent. Yeah, sure, he cleaned up his act now. He's all nice and good
Supposedly.
now.
He
Yeah,
was
supposedly.
he had been on recovering tours for like 7 years. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, so apparently I know his act's all clean now, and everybody's like, oh, he's great. Guys, this guy's a lazy piece of shit that just happens to know how to win a fight. And that's what John Jones' legacy is going to be. And those fights with DC just showed it. It exposed who John Jones really was, and I think that's the main takeaway that you can get from this entire.
Wait. So not a goat?
Not a goat. Even though, great fighter, but, not a goat, man. This guy, his whole career is, forever stained. His legacy is forever stained.
However, if you guys would like to argue, we love engagement. There are comments.
Yeah, it's true.
You can mail us. You can give us your opinion. You can give us ideas.
Or just comment, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or just dislike the video and move on. That works too. So, I mean,
let's try getting that to 8 views.
Yeah, so it's that's the one thing that we can learn. Obviously, this episode veered a little bit, but I think the same theme remained.
Honestly, you can do this like rivals, and then the extent of how each one goes. Because we talked about how DC went afterwards.
Yeah.
We talked about how John Jones went afterwards.
And even when we did the McGregor and Khabib one, we did something similar as well. I mean, it wasn't as painfully apparent with John Jones as it was with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was kind of just out there about it and shameless about it, but it became painfully apparent. You had this really good fighter. Don't get me wrong, John Jones was great initially. He was doing all the right things.
Would anyone say he's a bad fighter?
No.
We're not stupid.
He's a good fighter. He's talented. He found a way to win, and when the chips were down, chips down back against the wall, he still fucking found a way to beat DC, despite DC, being a fucking marauder the entire time. He found a way to win, and that's talent if I've ever seen it, But it's just, there's one thing that you learn from that, like I said, it's how John Jones really was. How he actually approached the sport of mixed martial arts. And I don't really think he cared about it as much as people might say he does.
I don't think he cared about it at all. He just saw it and said cha-ching.
Yeah, pretty much. And he built up a good marketability based off of his early title reign, his first title reign. And then
another thing
he ran with it.
Another thing this emphasizes is that old line, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Because even with all this news coverage on him, and the freaking abuse, the car crashes, the drug abuse,
The cheating.
the cheating, the alcohol and whatnot. Even with all that, Jones is still in people's mouth talking about being a GOAT.
Yeah. And the fact that there are still people that will defend him, and I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think you need to consider all things when it comes to the greatest of all time. That's just something that's forever going to be fought about.
Yeah.
That's never going to come to an agreement. No,
Yeah.
that's an argument that doesn't end. But I'm pretty sure we made one hell of a fucking case with this episode as to what, GOAT really means. This could even be a preface for our GOAT episode, to be honest. But, we'll establish that standard when it happens. But, that is John Jones and Daniel Cormier and the lasting effects on both men's career after the fact of after their rivalry. I don't really got much to say about this rivalry. Do you?
No, I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
I don't want to see John Jones back in the octagon.
Yeah, me
I think
neither.
I can say that.
And if he does have a way in and he wants a good fight, he has to go through Tom Aspinall now. So,
I don't even want to see him fight anymore.
Yeah, me neither. I've had it with John Jones, to be honest. He had his career, and we know how you actually cared about the sport of mixed martial arts. We really do. So maybe we're just jaded. Maybe you guys have a different perspective than we do. But to be honest, I personally have no desire to even watch John Jones fight again, and I actually leapt for joy when he fucking retired. So I thought he was a cancer to the industry, and that's that.
The thing is, especially coming to this closing right here, is that comparing the two, we love watching Ilya because we want to see him lose. Honestly, he keeps beating our favorite guys. It's kind of upsetting, guys.
I'm actually kind of a fan
Not
of Ilya.
joking.
I'm actually an Ilya guy.
He keeps beating our guys.
But he does keep beating our guys.
And it's upsetting.
It's upsetting, but it's telling.
But I would love to see him lose. I would love to never see Jones fight again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just...
I don't even desire to watch the dude lose anymore.
Exactly. I don't have the desire to watch him lose. Because I don't care.
I just don't give a fuck. It's kind of how I'm starting to feel about McGregor as well. Because that's a whole different conversation for a different podcast. But I ain't got nothing to say.
Greg and Chandler. It's going to happen.
UFC White House. I ain't got nothing else to say here, but tune in for 320. Well, you guys already watched it when this is being uploaded, but I hope 320 was enjoyable.
And I guess Crown Jewel, too.
And Crown Jewel, I think, is the week. It comes out the weekend that we're releasing this. So when I release this, it's going to be this weekend.
Yeah,
so
enjoy that, too.
Enjoy it. I hope 320 was good. I hope it was a great event. Obviously, future Steven will tell you more about how he felt about it on TikTok. So go follow our TikTok, Front Row Access Podcast on TikTok. So with that being said, though, I'm out of here. I'll see you next week. Later.
Peace.